What's up, everybody? I'm Rick.
And I'm Anna, and welcome to our review of the 1939 movie of Mice and Men. Come have fun with us, and don't forget to subscribe! Released on December 30, 1939, Of Mice and Men is a United Artists drama film based on the 1937 novel of the same name by author John Steinbeck. The film tells the story of a mentally disabled giant and his level-headed guardian who find work at a sadistic cowboy's ranch in Depression-era America. So Rick, what did you think of this movie?
I really like this movie. To be fair, I have seen a previous version of this story, 1992-93 movie. So I already knew like everything that was going to happen. But I love this story. I love the movie I saw before, and I love this one too. I think that at the core of it, it's so much about the human experience, right? And what it means to be human, what it means to be lonely, what it means to have dreams. All of these questions are things that define our life, really. And in a way, kind of links us all, because several characters throughout the movie talks about the fact that they're lonely, right? Even though they come from different background, they have, different aspirations, etc. But there's always that element of, what does a man or a woman do when they're by themselves, when loneliness takes over. And on the other side, how important it is to have these dreams, these aspirations.
Right, that's what I was gonna go for. I feel like this also connected the characters in a major way, was the fact that they all wanted something more than what they had.
And that's why I said this is the human experience, right? We all want something, we all aspire to something. This whole channel is built on dreaming about stuff, right?
Right. We always want more than we have.
Or sometimes it's just about having a better situation, right? It's not necessarily about having more.
And I thought that was very interestingly introduced in the very beginning of the movie, when one of the characters wants ketchup and they don't have it.
Yeah.
Like, it starts from there, it starts with something so small. Like, there's that one thing that you want and you don't have.
And he says it, right? Why do you always want the thing you don't have?
Right. What really impressed me about this movie is the fact that first, I have to say I wasn't familiar with the story. I knew of it, but I didn't know. I never read the book or seen any other versions of this movie, so I didn't know what the story was about. So I was actually so impressed with how focused the story was. It's just a small story. It doesn't feel like anything too important is happening, but through these small events, they tell so much.
Yeah.
The movie tells so much about, as you said, the human nature and aspirations and dreams.
And through its characters, right? It's what's at the center of the movie. It's not only the two main characters, George and Lenny, but also everyone surrounding them, right?
Right, and then all of these little elements, like the old man with the old dog, and then Lenny with his puppy, all of these little elements that in themselves don't seem to amount to too much, end up being so important for us to understand these people and their situation.
And the way it's written, right, it's masterful. Like, the dog element is kind of foreshadowing what's going to happen at the end of the movie.
Right.
With Lenny and George, and him saying, like, I wouldn't have let them just kill my dog like that. I would have killed the dog myself, right?
Yeah.
But more than his realization there, but also the whole conversation around the dog, right? The dog is useless. The dog is bothersome. Right?
Yeah, I feel like there is so much of a parallel, right?
But it's the simplicity of it all too, right? It's not like they had these dreams of becoming
rich
millionaire or whatever. Because the wife, right, she kind of does. She's like, I'm going to go to Hollywood and become a star, which represents certain people's aspiration. But for them, that's why I said it's not necessarily about having more. It's about having a better life, right? They just want another farm in which they're not the employees, right?
Right.
Where
they don't need much to be happy.
Right? He just wants to plant his seeds. He say, I'm obsessed with seeds. That's all I can think about. And then Lenny just wants to take care of his fluffy rabbits, right? The old man just wants to, now I'll wash the dishes and I'll take care of the garden. Just a better life for themselves. It's all they're asking
and
for.
the life in which they're free in the sense that they can work for themselves, which seems to be also something that drives all of them.
But also a life in which they're together, which that's why I'm saying like it's another big element of the story. It's loneliness, right? Loneliness is omnipresent, not because anyone is necessarily alone in the movie, because a lot of time everybody is surrounded by tons of people.
Right, and they also live together actually there.
But they're lonely. The old man has only his dog, and he's lonely, right? And when the dog is gone, he's even lonelier.
Right.
When they go, Lenny goes to talk to the black guy who's sequestrated because he's black. He talks about how horrible it is to be lonely, and all you have is your books because you need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Right, but you can't even talk to a book. It's one way, right? The book talks to you, and he's thinking about George and Lenny's relationship and saying, I guess the reason why he keeps you around is because you need someone to talk to, right?
Yeah.
He's talking to you. He knows you don't understand him, but he keeps talking to you. It's because he's lonely also, right? I think it's a very important element. It's also the wife's character's her whole motivation is about fighting that loneliness.
So all of these characters and their dreams and their loneliness are truly interesting. So I think it would be interesting for us to see who portrays them.
Yeah, sure.
First off, the movie was directed by Louis Milestone, whom we know of because he was also the director of The Racket, All Quiet on the Western Front, and The Front Page.
All great movies.
All great movies, right? And I have to say, The Front Page, definitely in my top 5 of the movies that we have watched so far as part of this goal.
A great one, yeah. All Quiet on the Western Front, also a great movie. Even The Racket.
And all movies that have as a subject different aspects of the human condition, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, these are movies, and this is a director, as far as we have seen, who does not shy away from difficult topics. And the movie stars Burgess Meredith as George. What did you think of his performance?
I thought he was good, right? His character doesn't call for big range of emotion. Like the synopsis said, he's the level-headed one, right?
Right.
He's the one who usually tries to keep things on the wrap, right? Because Lenny is going to cause trouble, so he has to be around and calm everyone down. At different points, you can see emotion taking over him, and it's usually when it has something to do with Lenny, right? This is a very interesting character in the sense that most of what he does is rarely about himself, contrary to a lot of the other characters who are acting in a lot of time their self-interest, including Lenny, who just wants to do what he wants to do, right?
I think he's very much his brother's keeper type of character.
Yeah, but where I was going with that is that the conversation with the black guy who's living by himself kind of puts that into perspective, right? Or is it really that he also gets something out of it, which is that without Lenny, he's all alone, right? Like,
yes, that is arguable, I suppose, but I don't think that...
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, right? But the idea at first that you would have is that it's completely selfless. Everybody asks him, why do you keep that guy around, right? You're a nice guy, you keep him around, he's kind of a, bothersome person to
have to take care of, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And he always says like, oh no, I promise I will take care of him. Like he tells different reasons why, but deep down the reason might be without Lenny, he has no one.
And because Lenny would never leave his side, so he feels like he'll always have this companion, which really makes the ending of the movie so much more sad when you realize that in the end, like, he ends up alone.
Yeah.
The movie also stars Lon Chaney Jr. as Lenny, whom we've seen before in Alexander's Ragtime Band, although he played a very small role. He was just in the background.
Yeah, I don't remember him.
What do you think of his performance?
He was really good. This is a hard role to play.
Yeah,
right.
I think so too.
Because this is someone who's impaired, right? And sometimes actors who play these kind of roles kind of go too far or not far enough, right? There's a certain balance that has to be struck. I think it works here.
It definitely does. I feel like he really managed to capture that simplicity of the character, but at the same time make him like very interesting to follow. Chaney had played the role of Lenny before in a stage production. So when it was announced that the movie would be made, he asked the director for a screen test. Marston, however, already had another actor in mind for the roles, so he refused to give Chaney even a screen test, but he did let him participate in the production by being the one who gives the lines to other actors who are screen testing for different roles.
Mm-hmm.
However, by the end of those screen tests of other actors, he was so impressed with Chaney's performance as the guy feeding the lines that he decided to give him the role without even making him take a screen test himself.
Good for him.
Yeah, he took the chance.
Yeah.
And I think that worked out really well because, of course, I don't know what the other actor would have been like, but I really like the way Chaney portrayed Lenny in this movie.
Yeah.
So the movie also stars Betty Field as May. What did you think of her performance?
I thought she was good, right? She plays the part that she has to play for the movie to go in the direction it does,
Yeah.
if that makes sense, right? You know, those kind of stories where different elements that are given relatively equal importance come together at the end, and then you have that moment, right?
Right.
Like the whole movie, there's this element of her walking around the ranch and trying to talk to the ranch hands and the jealous husband, and you're thinking like, where is that going to go, right? And it never really seems like she's gonna really enter into any type of like real contact with our two main characters, and then it's only at the end, you know, the tragedy with Lenny happens, that right, everything comes together. And for it to all make sense, you needed her character to make sense, right?
Right. Like it had to make sense. Why was she in that place at that moment?
And so that's why I was saying like her whole motivation is always about, I'm alone here in this farm. You won't even let me talk to anyone.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone. So she's looking for companionship from anyone, including Lenny. Even though Lenny, when she's talking to him at the end, he's not even listening. He's just talking.
But I thought that scene was particularly interesting because it seems like both of them are talking about their own dreams and none of them is listening to the other one. She doesn't listen to him either. He also talks.
But that's what I meant by like, she just needs someone to talk to, right? It's the same thing with George and Lenny. When the other guy was saying, George is talking to you, you don't even understand, but he keeps talking, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need someone to talk.
Someone there so that you don't feel like you're crazy and talking to yourself.
Yeah. And so her whole character, the whole movie, that's all she wants. She's trying to, you know, get some companionship, right?
And I thought it was also very interesting that it's only in that moment that we actually understand more what she's about. Like it's the first time she talks about, you know, where she came from. She tells the whole story with her mother. She tells her whole plan of going to Hollywood and becoming famous. Like we never hear any of that before because she had no one to say it to.
Yeah, exactly. And also the character is interesting in the sense that everyone sees her as a, you know, kind of like Lenny, as something bothersome, something that shouldn't necessarily be there because it'll just cause trouble, but not through fault of her own, right?
Yeah, but because
of her husband. Like even after she dies, the old man is like, oh, I always knew you were trouble, but she didn't really do anything to cause that trouble. She just wanted to talk to people.
Next one on our cast list is Roman Bonan as Candy. And this is the old man who ends up being included in their plans.
Yeah.
Yes. I found his character so deeply sad.
Yeah.
And really to the point of it being depressing. Like you were talking about loneliness being it's like something they all have in common. He is the human portrayal of loneliness. His only friend there is an old dog that they take away from him because it's too old.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it also is the dog is a mirror. I was saying earlier that the dog was, you know, a parallel to Lenny. The dog is also a mirror to himself, right?
Right.
He's old and useless without his other hand.
And I feel like that's why they put that whole scene there, because after they put down his dog, he actually does say, like, you saw what they did to my dog, that's what they do to things they don't need anymore, who have no use for them anymore, and that's how he saw himself.
Yeah, exactly.
The movie also stars Bob Steele as Curly, the husband. Now, he comes as the antagonist
Yeah.
to pretty much everyone in any situation. So what did you think of his character?
We've been talking about loneliness all this time, right? His character is kind of in an interesting position, is that he found someone, and his biggest fear now is losing that person, right?
Yeah.
And it haunts him, right? It's why he's so jealous.
Right.
Anyone who's even looking at my wife could be in the process of stealing her.
Right, of taking her away from me. It's interesting because on one hand, it's easy to point fingers and say, well, it's your fault, you treat her miserably. But on the other hand, you have to, he portrays this very simple-minded character, let's say. He doesn't understand what it takes to keep someone next to you, or to entertain a relationship. He just wants someone to be there, and he has someone to be there. And now he wants her to not leave.
And that's it, right?
Exactly.
I don't care how she feels about it.
The movie was highly appreciated at the time when it came out, and it was nominated for 4 Academy Awards. First off, Best Picture, which is why we have watched it, and we are talking about it right now. Best Sound Recording for Elmer Ragus. Best Music Scoring for Aaron Copland, and Best Music Original Score also for Aaron Copland. It didn't win any of them, and critics were saying afterwards that Meredith should have received the nomination for his performance. Frankly, I believe more Chaney should have received the nomination for his performance as Lenny, but both of them I thought were great. And
I would have given it to the director, frankly, but I think it surprisingly got less nomination in the quote-unquote important categories.
Yeah, I think so too. I wonder if it has something to do with how difficult the subject is. Maybe the people had kind of a block there. So, Rick, is there anything else that you would like to talk about?
No, not really. I think we went around the subject pretty well.
Yes, I think so too. So, would you recommend this movie?
I would, definitely. This is a very good movie, very good story. I'd recommend even reading the book, right? Just get the story in some form, right? I remember the 90s movie that I also watched was very good. So
right, I would also recommend this movie. I think the performances are very interesting, and the message of this story is very well delivered, in my opinion. That being said, it is now time for us to move on to the ranking. As some of you might already know, every year we rank all the Best Picture nominees of their respective year according to our likings and preferences. Right now we are ranking the movies of 1939 from the 12th Academy Award, and our list so far is at number 4 Ninochka, at number 3 Goodbye Mr. Chips, at number 2 Dark Victory, and at number 1 A Love Affair. Where would you put Of Mice and Men on this list?
I would put it at number 1.
I would put it at number 1 too.
Yeah.
I was actually wondering, would you maybe want to go for number 2? Because you seem to like Love Affair so much, but...
Love Affair was very good,
yeah.
But I think Of Mice and Men is just, story-wise is a better movie, character-wise is a better movie.
Right. Performances-wise, I think, is also very good.
It has so much to tell, right? I think I started this conversation by saying that this is a movie about the human condition, and when done right, these type of movies usually leaves you with such a strong impression, right? The movie was over and I was thinking about it for a long while afterward.
And I think to the movie's credit and the director's credit, we have to say that such movies are usually not easy to make. Like you said, if done right, they leave you with a strong impression, but if done wrong, you have, a bitter feeling.
A raised eyebrow.
Yeah, exactly. But this movie did it great. With that, our new ranking for the 1939 Best Picture nominees is at number 5, Ninochka, at number 4, Goodbye Mr. Chips, at number 3, Dark Victory, at number 2, Love Affair, and at number 1, Of Mice and Men. If you have also watched this movie, don't forget to tell us what you thought of it by commenting in the comment section below, but also by rating it on our website. The link is in the description box below. Also, we have watched this movie as part of our bucket list goal to watch every Best Picture nominee from 1927 to 2028. As of now, we have watched 102 movies as part of that list. We are going strong, we are going fast.
Towards 200.
And the next movie that we're going to be watching is Stagecoach. So if you're curious, you can go and watch that movie and then come back for our next review. But if you don't want to miss that review, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you will be notified for our next video, and also give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Also, don't forget, if you yourself have a goal or a dream that you would like to realize, take that first step. Bye bye.
Bye.